Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, thank you for joining us this morning for Universal Dimensions of Leadership. Alhamdulillah, we just played the broadcast, or we just broadcast yesterday's live recording of Jum'ah from Masjid al-Warathin in Oakland, California. Alhamdulillah, on that, and that's the introductory song that we played. That's Bilalian Creation. I'm pretty sure that was their name. Group out of Los Angeles, California. Around, it's during that furtive period, culturally speaking, or rather aesthetic culture from that perspective, of the 80s, in the 80s, and we got. That needs to, we really got to get on that, in that reconstructions. I think there's so many people that have allowed the false idea that type of artistic expression is somehow haram for us. They robbed us again. So we gotta reclaim that, get it back, get on. And there's nobody in the world, in the broader sense. We have spots here and there of other ethnicities, but we still stand on top for as far as that role, because the nature of history, society, etc., has groomed us for that role, and we do it in a way that no others have done, among many other roles. But enough of that for right now, because there's work that needs to be done. We want to hear from you. Don't wait and delay. Don't try to be the last word. Look, come on. If you got something to say, push the button and come on through with it. Because you know what happens once I take off. I stop looking at the studio, and then I just go where I go. So please, just come on, make your contribution. And again, with the proper adab, etiquette, and respect for the fact that there are others that have comments to share as well. So I want to hear from you. So come on, make a contribution this morning. We're going to kick it off with my brother, Imam Joel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Not as good as I'd like to.
Okay, hold on. Okay, how about now?
Perfect. Good.
Okay, so one thing that came to my mind was the old saying where we got parents that always want to tell their children, I'm not your friend. I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
And I think of the damage that does.
Oh,
where if we had a different, and I just think of, a lot of that damage is, self-inflicted, is generational. And, we feel that, like you said, when you're talking about authority, you was talking about Maliki, the authority where, it's sometimes in us where when we've been under an oppression, that we want to be able to say, well, what's mine? This house is mine. I run this house.
Right.
And these type of things. I heard Imam al-Albaani say one time that, it's wrong to sit there and say, get out of my refrigerator.
Yeah.
Don't slam no doors in my house. We don't lock doors in my house. These
Right.
type of things and the damage and how much that has done to us. So that came to my mind, and how we have to correct that. No, you don't necessarily have to be a friend where they're looking at you with no respect.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to be the friendly enough that they can come to you and get some advice, get some knowledge, get some wisdom, and get some help, and not feel like it's the hardest thing to do, to be able to talk to them.
Right. Yeah.
I just want to put that in there, brother. Now.
Alhamdulillah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, it's really something, and I want to reinforce at this moment. We should understand, as parents of I'm going to call it the post. I would say it literally could be from 75 on, but at least for sure the 80s, right? 80s. if you have children that were born in that period of time, and they're 60%, which is they were like 5 to 7 years old in the 80s, right? Then 10 years old in the 90s. It's like there's a lot going on. Again, talking about those cultural and environmental influences that came in. I mean, mashallah, I mean, crack, drugs, etc., which impacted many parents and many children, and the children of those parents, and then our children wound up in school with them, etc., and all the other so many other things. So it's like so many intersections of issues that the children of the 80s and the 90s particularly grew up in. It's like it's clear that we should not feel the sense of sole responsibility for the outcomes in our children, not to excuse ourselves, but to not overwhelm ourselves with guilt because of what was unable to do. Because how much help did you have to bring them in the direction you would prefer for them to go, and how much was pulling against you in them and through them psychically? It's like the tug of war between you and the broad world out there. So it's like, no, we needed and we need now the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, Brother Ron, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Now, that was a very, very powerful khutbah, and I clearly can see the value in what was being said. I have 4 children, and 3 of them were adults, 3 boys, 1 girl. 3 were teenagers at the same time. They were grouped together, and the youngest one is 7 years behind that group. And I raised, my style of parenting was different. Now, I wish I got better, but I wish we had been in a position that we could have got what you just called on when we were in FOI class. And we were being told that our primary objective was to, quote unquote, bring 30 million to the Lamb of God. So we were never home during the holidays and all of that. We were always on call out. We were always doing things and whatnot. So I just think that's powerful teaching. And what comes down now, my question is that in the schools now, we see that black males especially, they start out very, very brilliant, and this is my question, but it seems it's right around 10 years old that we begin to lose black males. Academically and socially and whatnot. So I understand that you said 90% is done. I think you said by 14. 10. 10. Okay, 10. Okay, that's what I thought was the back of my mind. That's why I'm bringing this question. So what is happening at 10 years old nowadays among black males that we seem to be losing them like that? Academically, especially.
Okay, inshallah, I'll take that up a bit after the follow-up comments with others, because it extends the conversation a bit. But you can have in mind right away, it's like there's a multiplicity of influences in the environment, and their interaction, quote unquote, off tracks us. And I'll get to that, inshallah, when we continue. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Mark, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Imam Fahim Shuaib, and to your very astute listeners, much substantive and so informational, educational, and it's so sorely needed. And I want to commend the other two callers in terms of the statements that they made, very valid statements. You know, when I listen to your khutbah, and I love how you constructed it by using the last surah of the Quran, Al-Nas, Al-Lub, and Rabbi Nas, Maliki Nas, and Ilahi Nas, in that construction, in looking at the stage and age of our children, both males and females, have to go through, and what our role and responsibility as parents or to them is so vitally needed, because, as you said, Allah speaks about the mystic time, and if we don't understand that this is a bonding that the parent have to have with the children, in terms of nurturing the growth in them. Matter of fact, they use the word bond in the acronym bonding, build on natural development and nurturing growth. But the natural development that would come through those stages won't really happen. And so sometimes we wind up losing our children and wonder what happened. You know, what happened? Well, because we weren't informed and knowledgeable that the age and stage that, like you say, 0 to 7, that we should be playing with them. This is how they begin to start learning. But also there's a bond that happens in that stage in the same way in terms of being a model, you know, for them, and also begin to teach them some of those things that are basic and fundamentals for their life. But that takes them to the socializing stage and to be their best friend. And I love the way that you put that together, because now you have you was befriending them all the time. You just have to wait until they got to 15 to 21 and to be their friend. One other thing I wanted to say, in terms of the word influence, I won't give the whole thing, I know time won't allow that, but those first 3 letters in the word influence, the I represents invest in them, invest in our children. What is the most important thing that we can invest in our children? The best commodity is time. That's non-redeemable. We have to invest in our children. As Brother Ryan said, those of us who was in the Nation of Islam, we were investing in other things more so, sometimes more so than in our children. And then that N stands for natural role model. You know, so Allah has made us the natural role model. I know some of you saying, wait a minute, Shaheed, it's Prophet Muhammad is the role model. Yes, but we have to exemplify that to our children in terms of teaching them. There's a lot to be said about that. And then that F stands for faith. Faith not only in the Creator, but faith in the creation and what Allah has created, and that includes our children. So there's a lot more to be said, you know, in regards to that. We have to listen to them, understand them, encourage them, help navigate for them, care for them, and be enthusiastic over what it is they do. Those are the other letters in that. But we can have impact and influence in our children's life only if we understand that they will go through these stages and that we are right there with them. And being right there with them, then we can always have a voice with them. Mm-hmm. I could say more, but I'll stop there. Thank you so much, Brother Imam. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, in the Parenting Family Reconstruction Learning Lab, we'll be on self-discipline as one of the 21 indispensable essential qualities of a leader. I would love to have you to give some commentary on that, but I think that what you said in this cookbook, we'll find that discipline is not from the outside in, it's from the inside out. Yes, yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. In going forward, tie in that I know you have likely as deeply as you study, tie in the taqwa and that discipline, right? because that's that part on the inside that will provide that discipline, right? And ihsan, right? Ihsan, to worship Allah as though you're seeing him, even though you don't see him, he sees you. And so when those things are on the inside, they will discipline your behavior on the outside, inshallah. All right. Thank you, sir.
Check mine. Yeah, thank you, brother Imam. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imam Asma, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother Imam. Alhamdulillah. Good to hear you and hear the commentaries of others. And hope everything is well.
Yes, yes.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Yes, good. So my comment is a little different, I think, is that when I was listening to the it's 3 sevens, right? The stages of what you do with your child, okay. So those 3 sevens. And then the 3 seeking of Allah as Rabb, as the Malikiness and the Ilahiness, and looking at those 3. And for me, as you were speaking about them, I had a visual memory of my life in those ages. What was happening with myself in those ages? So I'm looking at it and using that as a formula. I mean, it was like instantaneous. So it was like a formula for introspection. And introspection, and then if we're getting the language of Quran correct, then it's a time for, even though you went through those things and you have those memories and you have those feelings, when the Quran comes in, it's time for, it's going to be a correction coming in if you're getting the Quranic message.
Yes.
And I know your subject is on family, and you go back over your life, and so many young men, at early ages, 10 years old, when they get up to 18 or whatever, they're coming from broken homes.
Yeah.
Like I know I came from a broken home early in life. But I do remember a lot of my infancy. So those memories, and one thing I always had a question about in my infancy is that, not infancy, but I was still in diapers, barely walking, and with a bottle. Okay, so I have a lot of those memories. But I'm just saying now, I was not understanding how I was at that small age and have that visual picture of myself and those memories that I experienced then with my parents and my family at that time as a visual memory. How is that into the memory that I can see myself, as I speak right now, see myself at that age coming up, through those stages. So I think it's a time for introspection, and with the Quran, with all the Islamic terminology that we have now, it's al-Rahman.
Okay.
It's a mercy, and then a benefit, and also al-Rahim, a redemption that takes place.
I know that I know you're speaking extemporaneous, but you just turn those last 2 around. Ar-Rahim is the one for the mercy, and Ar-Rahman is the no. You're right. You're right. Rahim is the Imam Muhammad's redemption. So that was me. Correct. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right.
You're welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, very, very, very important. A lot of things to chew on, of things that I've mentioned. I'm going to go back because I think in a more compact way I can address what Brother Ron had raised based on the time that we have remaining. Just need to switch up. So if I'm remembering correctly, Brother Ron's question was about around 10 years old, in the educational system, we seem to be losing, or rather, we seem to be losing our boys at that time. So I'm just making some comments along this way. They won't be as studied as I might prefer at times, but let's go with that. Whenever we can start with the Quran, it's always the best. It's always the best. And where the Quran says that Pharaoh put them to hard task and he killed their men or boys and kept their women alive, right? That's without the benefit of reading it in the Arabic. Killed their boys and kept the women. So the masculine was destroyed and the feminine was kept alive, right? So that's a whole area of, set that aside. You can go into just that world. What's meant by boy, what's meant by girl, what's meant by male, what's meant by female in that, and translate it. And if you start with an interpretation that has Pharaoh as the oppressive culture, if you put Pharaoh, it's like, who is Pharaoh in that picture? The oppressive culture, a culture that is not serving God's will and issue and God's will and plan, right? It said Pharaoh had gone beyond all bounds. So the order that's intended for matters are not respected by that culture. This is there's an example right off the top. This quote unquote transgender woman that's supposed to have, won the whatever it was, the swimming championship, right? The national record in swimming, right? And this is supposed to be first transgender. Everybody not everybody, obviously, you want to applaud that. Oh, we're breaking boundaries with that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're breaking boundaries, but not the ones that you think are to be applauded. So it's like, okay, you say this person is a woman. I'm not gonna. Well, Allah, it's not my plan to keep going on it, but this culture that is telling you, so that's killing the man, keeping the woman alive, right? In this distorted, grotesque way. That's the way I see it. This distorted and grotesque way, you killed the man and you brought, quote unquote, the woman alive. As monstrous as that imagery is, that's the kind of crazy world that we're in right now. The Quran 4:119, where it talks about, I will create in them false desires and cause them to deface the fair nature. All of that is in that picture right there. And it's a literally, relative to reality, it is a lie. It is a falsehood. No, you are not a woman. You are not a woman. And you heard it here first, and I haven't seen it anywhere, even though I've done a deep dive. But you let me know if you see somewhere you want to say this is a woman, all right? And if she's in NC2A, it's like, here's my question. Does she have a cycle? Does she have a cycle? It's like, does she have I asked Alexa, we got these snooping devices in our house, mashallah. It is what it is, but we still get some benefit from it. So I asked Alexa, I said, Alexa, how many women, what's the percentage of women that don't have menstrual cycles, right? And here's something I found, and then go on to explain. And I don't remember the numbers per se, because that really wasn't my question. I refined it as I went on. She said 40% of the women, or XYZ percent of the women who are over 40 don't have cycles. Okay, well, that's not what I'm talking about. So yeah, we get that menopause and that fine. All right, then I asked another question. I said, Alexa, how many women under the age of 30 have never, and I said it that way, have never had menstrual cycles, right? Because I'm saying there may be some anomaly somewhere where it's like, a certain percentage of women don't have menstrual cycles. I don't know. Alexa's answer was, I don't know that one. So it's like, no, it doesn't happen. So how are you going to be a woman with no menstrual cycle? Just that side of it, right? And all the rest of it goes along with that. So let's move that along. So the idea of kill your men, keep your women, it's in the culture. So it's like we see it manifest in our young boys. We have examples of it. Here's where that thing is happening, but that's just one data point, quote unquote, where it's happening. But if you look around, look outside of the classroom where our young Bilalian boys are, and our neighborhoods and the like, look beyond that and look out into the world, you see, it's happening everywhere in this oppressive pharaonic culture, right? So it's not just our boys. Now I'm going to get to the particulars on that, inshallah, something about that. But as a starting point, looking at that, so the other aspect of that, now I want to just bring it to how it's a product of the failure to have the natural frame, right? The box I'm in is the educational system. The culture is outside of the culture. Okay, boxes inside of boxes, right? So you have the culture, and then you have education inside the culture. Remembering that the role of a school is to promote the values of the people who gave rise to it, right? So when you talk about a public school, then that public school is from the public, right? The public is from the public, meaning it's from that design that is designed over everybody, right? And so that is those people who have their own educational system, those who do, whether it be the Amish or whether it be the Jewish or whether it be Mormon or what have you. It's very, very specific. Even when you talk about Catholic and the like. So we have our schools and we have a particular destiny for them. But as far as the public is concerned, the public school is the school that, in fact, when you look at what they call our educational model, is based on the Prussian system, and I believe his name is John Dewey. Again, I'm speaking from unresearched part of the presentation, but that John Dewey was one that brought back, in my memory, the Prussian model, and it had a two-tiered educational system. And that two-tiered educational system, you have one group that's being trained for labor and another group that's being trained for leadership. One group is being trained to be the burden-bearing animals of the society. Hold on, somebody knocking on my door. I'm sorry. I'm the only one here. Hold on. Thank you. Y'all don't worry about it. It happens all the time. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. It's okay. Right goes on. All right, let's see. Pardon the interruption. Well, I may as well, since I need to change these batteries here. Wait. I see what's happening. Hold on. What's going on here? Phone's tripping. Okay. Got to call back in the Blog Talk. Call Blog Talk host. All right, so we got a little distraction. It's a good distraction. The sister came by to drop something on. Well, I won't tell you. so I got whatever. That's what happened. Now, let's see. Where are we? Let me get back on track with you. All right, we're here, and I was saying about boxes, right? Boxes inside of boxes, and so it is the road. Public. Okay, we have public, private. I talk about private example. I really want us to understand that we depend on, I'm talking about aliens, African Americans, we depend on whatever the public has provided for us. So far as public schools are concerned, the role of a school is to promote the values of the people who gave rise to it. Okay, if it's a public school, some people even call it a government school. If you want to study this in more detail, study John Gatto, Gotto, not John Gotti, John Gatto, and the history of the American educational system. You can find it online, a whole lot of material there. So enough of that. So therefore, whatever the public wants out of the public's, whatever the governors, I don't mean state governors, I mean the elite, the rulers, the administrators, the directors of the quote unquote public school system, whatever the values that they rest upon, which I'm saying the multi-tiered situation where your track is to go here and the other track is to go there, and so they manage that system, and they create what they do, create what they like that suits and fits the objectives that they have for those who come through their system, right? We know that the very educational system is the assembly line system, and it's still standing upon the agricultural model. And the agricultural model is the come in September, go out in June. That's all tied to planting and picking. I'm gonna make it short. The industrial aspect of it is the industrial model, whereas that you put on a conveyor belt starting in nursery school through kindergarten, through elementary, through secondary, through high school, through college, and you're put together like an automobile. The design being for you to serve as a tool in an existing system. And what has gone, quote unquote, wrong, if you will, in the nature of it, what has changed is that there's nothing on virtually speaking, there's nothing on the concluding end of the educational system right now to make use of those that were being prepared for an agricultural and industrial world. We no longer live in an agricultural and industrial world. So consequently, the educational system for the public especially is really useless. It's really, I mean, Allahu Alam, you know, we love education, etc., but you got to call it what it is. Why? Because of the transformation from the agricultural industrial to the informational / technological side of it. You go and look and see where America's educational system, secondary, post-secondary education, how it stacks up with other nations, right? Especially in Asia as well. Because there was a time when we needed you when you graduate to be able to do this, that, or the other, because we have a system that's ready to receive you and the work that you've been prepared for and that we shaped you for. But that world as an outcome no longer exists. So really the school system is really just a containing system. Allahu Alam, I know I'm speaking extemporaneously, and I know I'm speaking as though there are no exceptions, but the exceptions are so few that they are exceptions that actually prove the rule. And so many different models have come up to replace that, but they are not the prime models for the public school. So the public school education continues to try to sustain its existence, even though its value is really yet to be seen. With no disrespect for people who, I came from the public school and I'm just fine. Well, I'm sure you had something in addition to what was being offered to you in the public school that gave you that spirit and that success and that level of achievement that you are very, very proud of, and that I am too. But now to go back to the issue of the boys, right? Right. Okay. One word, riddling. Let's just let me do that. And you've heard me say before, all you do, you bring up one word, and if you're in touch with that word, then you have an idea that there's a whole narrative around just that word. So when I say riddling, when I talk about how they are drugging in the public school as an intervention for quote unquote discipline problems, which again, that has to do with the way that you are defining a problem, right? The way that you are defining this behavior right here, you're calling it ADHD or whatever the labels or whatever those things are. The idea is that you are not conforming in the way that we want you to conform to the system as we have established it. So you are a problem. There's something wrong with you. In fact, drapetomania, that's it, just use this as examples. Drapetomania, I believe, is the word that was used for slaves that would try to escape. The slave would try to escape. They actually went and they were serious. They were serious. The learned, quote unquote, the doctors and the scientists of the time would say that was a disease, that it was a disease, that to try to escape from slavery was a disease that was affecting the slaves, and they call it drapetomania. Right. Okay. Well, bring that up to the classroom. And so when you have little Bilalian boys who behave in the way that they behave, which is very natural for them, but inside of the context and the expectation of the system such as it is, that is a problem, because you're not conforming to our expectations of you. You're not fitting into the model that's expected. And that's also one of the critiques of the way that the pedagogy of this society, for as far as inside the classroom, it's like they're trying to get little boys to behave and conform and submit like little girls do. I mean, little girls find it real. Allahu Alam. I'm just looking at my grandchildren. It's like they find it. Hey, let's play school. I have yet to see some boys, so young boys, whatever they say. Yeah, let's play school. They want to play football. They want to play baseball. They want to race. They want to wrestle. That's boy stuff, right? But I get you into the classroom, and the system says you have to act like a girl, quote unquote, in that kind of compliant kind of way. So that's one part of it, because the way that the system is designed is not to accommodate you in your nature, but to get you to conform to our design because we have a future for you as a tool and as a cog in the wheel, or rather a cog in the machine that we have already designed. So that's one thing. So when you talk about perception, you have the aim of the society, the structure of the society, the values that the society is seeking to promote, and that is being implemented, instantiated inside the educational system, which does not call for the boys to be boys, right? The males to be males. We need you to be something else. So if you have that Malcolm X spirit, for example, or some other kind of spirit in you, then we have to, your name is Toby Kuta Kinte, that whole thing. So the idea is, with relationship to the vision for that human being in quote unquote what they call education, is not respective of the nature. All right, because education itself, which means to draw out, would have to begin, true education has to begin from the perspective that there's already something in that child by nature that we as an educational institution are responsible to draw out, not to pour in over and on top of that, but our responsibility is to create an environment that is nurturing of the nature that is in that child. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's a very nice parable or analogy that makes a point, and I don't have to spend all that time on it. Let's see if we can get it. Come on. Let's see if it'll come through for me. It's loading up a little slow, but hopefully it'll come through. Give me a second. Thanks for your patience. Nope, it's not going fast enough. Let's see. It's worth the wait if I find it. Yeah, no, it's only showing me it on the video, on the video side, and that's not going to work for our setting this morning. Well, the bottom line is that it was a situation where an animal school was set up, and all the different animals, each one was being forced to fulfill roles that were not true to their nature. And so what that did is that the duck failed in flying, and the squirrel failed in swimming, and each one of the animals were unable to act according to their nature. So therefore, they failed. But it's because the design of the school was to invite each one to do something that was not true to their nature. So that's the same thing that I'm speaking to in terms of no respecting the human nature. We're not even just talking about Bilalian or anything like that, just the human nature, which Allah has taught Adam the knowledge of the nature of all things. And the Quran also says, to each is a goal to which is turning, so strive is in a race towards all that is good. All of this is saying that Allah has created us with a certain proclivity, a certain predisposition, a certain inclination, a certain urge, a certain appetite. And true education is one that recognizes that is the state of things. And as people, as a part of my designing an educational plan, quote unquote, education meaning to draw out an educational plan for all these human beings, no matter, regardless of race, color, creed, let's call it, then it's like I have to create an environment that, and in some way, unveils or gives rise to or provokes or invokes or nurtures from that person what may be their very nature as a capacity for, as far as what are they going to bring to the world stage or to the society stage to benefit. They may be artists, if you understand what I'm saying. They may be physically capable. They may be mathematicians. They may be scientists. They may be just nurturers and caregivers, etc. And so the education has to take into its design an awareness that there's already something in this child. If viewed as a seed, there's already something for them to bring out. But that's not the world that we live in. Okay, so when you get to the issue of these things happening at 10 years old, it's because one of the things is that it's at that time that whoever they are is very strongly formed, and if what has been formed in them is not true to what the system is inviting them to be, then they're naturally going to rebel against that. As I talked about this pre-adolescent stage, they're going to rebel against what they do not call themselves, that they don't accept as their identity. Right. And so if you seek to impose upon me what I haven't accepted as a part of my identity, then there's going to be natural rebellion against the way that you have defined me versus the way I've defined myself. I'm 90% where I'm going to be. And then you're telling me to be something that I have decided that I am not. So there's a battle there already. Now, when you augment that battle with the fact that I'm at that stage where I do find it difficult to obey. That's the very nature of the stage that I'm in. And so now for us to be at war, teachers and the students, especially the boys and Bilalians particularly, we put all the rest of what's going on with us in the mix. It's like, yeah, that's a real toxic mix. And the way that this world solves problems is, so how many more of our boys are sent home, suspended, put in special class, put on Ritalin, ADHD protocols, whatever. But it's not them per se. And so it's not them per se. It's the conflict between the design of the system and the nature of the student, right? Now, that's inside the school. Let's go outside the school, right? When you go outside the school, 90% of personality is formed by the time you're 10 years old. Then where's the other 10% come from? The other 10% comes from those who have been socialized like you. All right. So now here, sometimes I think they call it, we had the classroom to prison pipeline, that idea. But then also we're not going to prison yet. But also the issue of partners. That's also one of the names for the socialization phase is also the gang stage. It's the gang stage. So that's later. That's the 14 to 21. But obviously that's all starting earlier now because of so many other reasons, right? But let's say this point. So 90%, so 10% is for, okay, so now you go to school. So that school can feel like a prison, literally, if you're going through metal detectors, and then you got those who are potentially carrying weapons and all of that whole thing. And now, so the education, as hard as it is to deliver whatever that education is, but then you got all these boys from the hood, from the projects, and from wherever that zip code in where we live, quote unquote, they're all in that classroom together. Okay, so you can imagine what's going on the playground. On the playground, those 90 percenters are now mutually influencing each other to get the other 10%, and it's not necessarily good or complementary of the institution that they're in, quote unquote, the school. Okay, school is out, now they're on the streets, right? When they're on the streets, now they're with each other, and so they are continuing to how can you say, ferment with each other with whatever it is. So okay, now we got to talk about music, we got to talk about drugs, we talk about quote unquote, ideas and attitudes about sexuality. Then you got to talk about parents. And this, when we talk about the 10-year-old type, because if it's not the 10-year-old boy themselves, they are looking at the boys on the block as the models for, when I grow up, I want to be like that. When I grow up, I want to be one of them. This is the 10-year-old because he's looking for models. And what seems to be the strongest elements is the gangster, the pimp, the hustler. I know it sounds like a cliche. That's just a fact. All you gotta do is look at. I don't know where all y'all live, but enough of us live in those places where that is their model. That is that they walk like them, they talk like them, they dress like them, they respond to music the way that they respond to music. And recognize this: the role of music, or one of the facts about music, is that, and I respect my brother William. I'm always conscious of him when I use that word, William Kareem. Alhamdulillah, great brother. The idea of what I think he has it, sound destruct. Forgive me, brother Will, but sound art. I'll put it like that. Sound art, music, right? So that will make you sick. But the role of music is to justify the behavior that accompanies it. The role of music is to justify the behavior that accompanies it. When you have sacred ritual acts in some religious dispensation, there's sacred music to go with those religious acts, right? Dun, 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 dun. You know what's going on right there, because that music is tied to that particular ritual. And it's the same way. There's music for war. There's music for celebration. There's music for, again, all different levels. Okay, well, what's the music when you hear in that car pulling up behind you or beside you, and it's boom, 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 boom. I mean, the concrete is shaking, etc., and the windows are up, right? What kind of music is it? Right? And what's the behavior that is designed to justify? What's being modeled for that boy? So it's like he's out of school, on the way home, hood, all these visions, all these things seen, heard. We haven't even got back in the house to talk about television programs being watched, conversation between mother and father, what's going on in there. All those things, that's what that 10-year-old is steeped in, that milieu, and that's what they are, the word is isomorphically taking in. And so by the time you get back to school the next day, oh man, it's more than complicated. So the point is there's just conflict in the nature of society as opposed to the nature of the child, and is not being supported to move it in the direction that Allah created it for. And that's why we have all that work to do to get things moving in the right direction. So I'm going to call it today. And alhamdulillah, thank you, Brother Ryan, for your question. We want to recognize those people who have come through. Quran says, this is from Abdul Shahid. Quran says the people of Pharaoh have a plan to kill our men. About age 10, our boys are being influenced more of the outer world, I guess it means by the outer world, than by home life. And by age 12, they're completely under the influence, the masculine influence. I believe that our females truly have to gain more knowledge from Allah and how to more strongly build those youngsters as they are in the early development. Yes, that's true. All true. Alhamdulillah, so I'm just going to tick down to acknowledge. Alhamdulillah. April, alhamdulillah, I'm looking forward to getting with you and your husband and the team down there in Memphis for the male-female relationship seminar that's going on. I won't be flying down there, so that's okay. And I might not come if Ja beat the Warriors up too bad. I might not come down there and protest. Alhamdulillah, Ja is a beast, saying that in the best possible way. I don't know what happened last night. I don't know if they won or not. Somebody young, let me know. Abdul Shahid, assalamu alaikum. Adil Al, assalamu alaikum. to you as well. Alhamdulillah. Iman Shaheed, alhamdulillah. Lydia Wu, alhamdulillah. Justin, Lord, come here and watch this. Okay, alhamdulillah. Oh, Jocelyn, she says, I'm here. Okay, welcome. And okay, we had that little interruption. We got that straight. Thank you, Ismail. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Allah's peace be on you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.